So the dough can be made very easily in a food processor. So in the food processor, you want about 3½ cups of flour, just all-purpose flour, 3½ cups. And you want 1/2 cup of sugar. So 1/2 cup of sugar goes in. And you want, a pinch of salt. Let me get that. A pinch of salt. And we want 1/2 cup of, well, if you were doing this in the traditional style, it would be lard. But we're going to use just vegetable shortening. Okay? So we put that in. 1/2 cup. So now what we want to do is whirl this up and get that shortening mixed into the flour. Just pulse a couple times. You can also do this in a bowl with a pastry blender. All right, that looks good. Take that out. Now, what we want to do is beat up an egg, just slightly beat up 1 egg, so it'll blend a little better into the flour mixture. So just give it a slight whip with a fork. I really found this cookie to be so intriguing. You would never find it here, so I decided that I was going to do this for you. So the egg goes in. I'm going to put the top back on. And give that a couple more pulses. Now I'm going to add another favorite of mine from the west coast of Sicily. This is Marsala. Marsala is a fortified wine, and it comes from Marsala. So I want to create a dough here. So I'm adding enough Marsala to give me a dough that will stick together. So you want to just pulse very lightly, see, like I'm doing. I'm going to add, a little bit of water. If you don't like Marsala, you can just use all water. So how do you know when this is ready? You know it's ready by taking off the top, taking that off, and taking a piece and going like that. You see? When it holds together in your hand like that, well, you know you've got enough. So you stop. So we're going to put this aside, move this over, and take out this dough. This is a very easy dough to work with. This is a filled cookie. So I'm going to carefully take out that blade and dump this on my work surface. So it's going to make about 5½ dozen filled cookies. And actually, the filling for this, I told you there's a surprise ingredient. Filling from this is something really that was influenced by the Spanish influence in Sicily, because the Spaniards played a huge role in Sicilian cooking. And in fact, one of the ingredients that we're going to put in this dough was actually introduced into Sicily by the Spaniards. So you see, I don't even have to add any flour to my board to move this around. It's perfectly fine as it is. It's not sticking to my hands. It's a really nice dough to work with. It's nice and pliable. So we're going to wrap it up and we're going to chill this, for about an hour. And while it is chilling, we're going to make the filling with the surprise. All right, so let's make the filling for this unique cookie from Modica, which I had, by the way, at a wonderful place called Dolceria Bonaiuto, and they're very famous for their chocolate. So we're going to start with some almonds. So about 1½ cups of sliced almonds. They go into the bowl of a food processor. And we really want to just grind those up a little bit. So again, a couple pulses. I'm going to leave some texture here. So there they are. That's about the right consistency too. Yeah, that looks good. All right, put the food processor back on. I'm one of those cooks that works from the cleanest ingredient to the dirtiest ingredient. That's why I only ever have to use one pan when I'm cooking, because I go from the clean stuff to the stuff that's going to be pretty messy. I do that with pastry too. So now we have chocolate. So what we want here is really good chocolate. Let me show you. You see, here's something that says 85% cocoa. That means the amount of cocoa that is in this bar by weight. So 85% cocoa bean. So you really want a good chocolate for this, a very dark chocolate. This is a bitter chocolate. So we want a 3 point ounce bar of this chocolate because it's going to be part of the filling. And I should tell you that in Modica, they really know their chocolate. They do chocolate really well because the Spaniards brought chocolate to Modica. So when you go there for any kind of pastry that's got chocolate, they are the best. They're really renowned worldwide. So I'm going to put that in the food processor, and we're going to process that now. Let me take a look. Yeah, that's about right. Okay, so we're going to take that out. You were listening to Symphony Number 5 as I was doing that. And that goes into the bowl with the nuts. Okay. Now we need to add with this some sugar. So here's some sugar. Mix that all up. Get that well mixed because we're going to add egg whites to this in a little while. So really mix it up. You could mix this all up in the food processor again, but you would then be mashing the nuts and the chocolate too much, so it's best to do it in a bowl. And then we want some cinnamon. Cinnamon is one of those spices that, again, very popular in Sicily because lots of spices were brought by the Arabs to Sicily. So cinnamon was one of them. So we want that to go in, a good teaspoon, I would say. And then we need the zest of a lemon. And this only makes sense for Sicily because, of course, if you've ever traveled there, you know how much citrus grows in Sicily. You've got blood oranges, you've got lemons, you've got grapefruits the size of basketballs. So it's only making sense that we should put a lemon in here. Okay, so there's the zest of a lemon. So we want to mix that all together. And now we have to get the secret ingredient. Yep, it's meat, okay? And we're going to brown it. And what I did was, when I bought the meat, I actually ground it again in my food processor. I wanted it very, very fine because that's the way it should be. And when it's cooked, we've got to cool it a little bit, and then we're going to combine it with the chocolate and the almonds. All right, so here we have browned the meat. It's a little warm right now, but because we're going to recook this all together, but we want it to be a little bit finer. I mean, we could leave it like this, but traditionally you really should get it a little smoother. Okay, that looks good, and that's going to cool it down somewhat. With the chocolate and almond mixture, we're going to mix this around. And now we want to get this chocolate shiny. We want this to be a little bit wetter. So I'm going to take the whole mixture back over here and put it in the pan. So now we want to have a little bit of control here. So this is almost going to get to the consistency of like a thick batter almost, because the chocolate, of course, is going to melt. I just think this is such a unique way of making this cookie. So I told you this was going to make about 5½ dozen, and you can see that we've got a lot of filling here. Okay? And the heat will continue to melt that somewhat. Put that aside. So here is the mixture. Now this has to cool down because the next thing we have to do is whip the egg whites. Nice, soft peaks. Okay. Now we mix this until it's well combined. All right. That is our filling. And no one is ever going to know that there is meat in here. I guarantee it. It's up to quarters. Keep the rest covered. And you want to have some flour with you and a rolling pin. So you roll it to about, I would say, less than 1/4 inch thick. And then you have ready a baking sheet with a sheet of parchment paper over the top. And you take a little bit of that filling, you put it right there in the center, like that. See? Right there in this. Look at how nice and dark that is. And it really, this little bit of filling packs a nice little wallop. You've got the flavor of the dark chocolate with the sugar and the egg whites and the almonds, all products of Sicily, the almond trees that bloom in February. Then you take and you fold that over and you pinch it just like that, see? Okay, once you have a whole tray full of these, well, your oven is on at 350, preheated, and you're going to bake these for about, I would say, 20-25 minutes, depends on your oven, just till they're nice, lightly browned. And then you can take them off the tray. That chocolate is going to come right through there as these cook. So here we have some cookies that are cooled. You see how they opened up at the top. They're all ready to go. So you just take them out, put them on a rack, and then I just go around them all, see? And that just really, really dresses them up. And you see how that, I love the way the chocolate filling just pops right through the tops.